Hello again, everyone. Dave Benson here, Senior Advisor for Threat Mitigation and Global Operations here at the Center for Personal Protection and Safety, CPPS. Today, I'd like to talk with you about the requirement and necessity for including intimate partner and domestic violence into your comprehensive workplace violence prevention and intervention programs. So the first would be, why is that important? Well, the Center for Disease Control thinks that this issue is so important that they declared it to be at epidemic proportions a few years ago. And certainly with recent situations to include the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, incidents of intimate partner and domestic violence have not gone away, and in many cases they've increased and become more severe. So it's incumbent upon all of us in the industry to make sure that we recognize that fact and we include how to deal with intimate partner and domestic violence within our comprehensive policies and procedures. So just as a reminder, what's intimate partner domestic violence? We know that it's a pattern of coercive behavior used by one person in an intimate relationship to gain power control over another. In its essence, it's about power, control, and possession. It's not about love. It's not about caring. It's about power, control, and possession of another individual. Another thing to keep in mind, sometimes we tend to erroneously think it only happens in committed relationships, but it can be seniors that might be living in the home, and part of the extended family can fall victim to this, and of course, children certainly can. The techniques used by abusers include physical, sexual, emotional, psychological, and financial abuse. And my years of doing this have taught me to look for all those possibilities. You're not going to necessarily see the overt black eye or broken tooth or bruises. You're much more likely to see some of the more insidious effects that are more psychological underneath the surface. So we have to be trained and prepared to look for that. And so intimate partner and domestic violence is prevalent, as I said before. In fact, 1 in 3 women, approximately 1 in 5 men have been, will be, or are currently in some type of a domestic abusive relationship. That's why it's critical for we in the workplace to have a comprehensive violence prevention program that addresses this issue as well. Now, from a compliance standpoint, you know that we at the center spend a lot of time talking about the 2 ANSI standards, the original one from September 11th on workplace violence prevention, the updated one, which they call the International Standard in 2020, and the 2 OSHA directives, again, one from 2011, and if memory serves, one from 2020 or 2021. They both specifically talk about the need for including intimate partner and domestic violence within your workplace violence prevention and intervention programs. Another important piece is make our people understand and comfortable to report, what to report, who to report it to, how to report it. These are very sensitive, often very personal issues, particularly for the victims, or who we call survivors. Therefore, we need to have mechanisms in place that's clearly understood throughout the organization on how we will securely, and from a confidentiality basis, as much as we can do that, glean this information and then come up with some helpful intervention strategies, both within the workplace, but also outside. It's very much a partnership in that regard. We also want to include within our policies and procedures that reporting, sharing, orders of protection or restraining orders, whatever they're called within your jurisdiction, be part of the program. Need to be encouraged, if not mandated, to share that with you. And whenever it's appropriate, to include your workplace, your organization, as one of the people or one of the groups that are on there. Why? Because as I've said for many years, he or she or they may not know what your new phone number is. They may not even know where you live, but chances are quite good they know where you work. And so that's why why it's over the years from being an extremely personal issue, and of course it still is, that it becomes an organizational concern as well. Because in addition to the victims, and that's significant, we have a significant responsibility to everybody else in the workplace. We know, for example, that upwards of 60% of active assailant incidents of various types and various locations have at least some tie to intimate partner and domestic violence. So even if we weren't concerned before, that certainly tells us that we need to pay a tremendous amount of attention in how to deal with it. Now, admittedly, intimate partner and domestic violence has different behaviors of concern. In another video, we can talk about that. But nonetheless, while it's not a straight line cycle of violence that we teach in traditional workplace violence prevention and intervention, it is cyclical, which makes it much more hideous. You go from a honeymoon phase to a tension phase to an acute explosion, and then back to the honeymoon phase, which can mean different things dependent upon the relationship. So, in closing, it's critical. It should not be optional that you as an organization address intimate partner and domestic violence and the role that it can play individually to your stakeholders, but also to within the organization. This is a societal issue, and much of the work that we do is a microcosm of our society, who we are, our customers, whatever it might be. So therefore, it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that as part of a comprehensive intimate partner violence program is included in the overall workplace violence prevention and intervention program. Hope you found this useful. As always, if you have any questions, reach out to us at info@cpps.com. Again, until next time, stay safe.